Marriage at 16? Stay tuned. God bless you, friends. Thank you for joining me this morning on Morning Nuggets. This is yours truly, Pastor Nate, and it is my absolute pleasure every time I can speak with you. Thank you for your support. If you like what you hear, before you click off, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Pastor Nate will be glad to have you part of the Smart Show. Married at 16? It is no secret that the pastor is 51. He's disclosed that, so that's not doxing. In fact, we know when his birthday is because we kind of celebrate and give him cash apps and super chats during that time. So that is no secret. I am not a proponent. I'm not a fan of doxing. I don't think people should be doxed. What if you dox the wrong person? However, if you're going to proceed with doxing, make sure you get the information right. Again, I don't condone it. But my God, if you're going to do wrong right. Don't do wrong. Y'all get me? Information was put out that the pastor was married. And there's a court document, as you can see here, dated 1986. I cut off a lot of the other information because even though it's already out there, I do not want to redistribute information tied to a person's name or date of birth or address, anything like that, because I don't do doxing. But this is very limited information, just showing you a date and a couple other items on the document. But as you can see, 1986, and if Passa is now 51, in 1986, he would have been 16 years old. Now, is it possible that someone, or he may have been married at 16? Yes, it's possible, but it's not likely. In the Bible, women were allowed to get married as soon as they experienced puberty, because afterwards you can have children. So women were as young as 13, 14, 15, and that's subjective depending on the culture. We look at Jesus's mom. Scholars say she was around 13, 14 during that time. I don't know the specific age, but she was very young. She wasn't 20. She wasn't 21 when she started out. Men had to be a little bit older because men were required to what? Work and provide for the family. So what can a woman do with a 15 or 16-year-old man but just have sex, right? That's not going to do any good. You need to be able to work. That's why those parents, because a lot of those marriages were arranged. That's why parents released the daughter to marry the man so the man can take care of the woman. And even years back in our culture, a lot of young people got married because it was cheaper on the family, especially when family had 10, 12, 15 children. So as soon as the boy was old enough to work and get out the house, they were gone, or the girl was old enough to get out the house and get married. The parents were encouraging that because that's less mouths they had to feed and take care of. So it would defeat the purpose for a woman to marry a man where the man wasn't old enough to take care of, because at 16 years old, according to the labor laws, you really couldn't work and make money. I mean, you could probably get a part-time job, but what's that, 4 hours a day? What can you do? Can you pay bills? At 16, you can't take care of family and pay bills and run a whole household if you're working limited hours. So that would make sense. In biblical days, women were able to get married as soon as they hit puberty. That could be 13, 14, 15, so they can start having children. Men had to be a little older so that they could work and go to the military. So men had to be around 18 or 20. If you're younger than that, they weren't legal to do anything. The men, it wouldn't have been any good. There would be no use for a man in a marriage if he wasn't of age. And according to scripture, Deuteronomy 24 and 5, when a young man, whether he was 18, 19, 20, or when he was old enough to go in the military, if he had gotten married, the scriptures say he had to stay home with his wife for a year before he went out to serve his country. So during that year, I guess you had time to get acquainted with your wife and get a child or whatever. Then you would go off to the service. That was under the law. We can go to another scripture Joash was the king at 7 years old. And the Bible said in that same verse, he had 2 wives and he begat children. Now, did Joash get children at 7 years old? Probably not, because he reigned for 40 years. So I imagine he got married at 7, but when he was old enough to, I guess, produce, I would assume that's when he started having children. Now, he debunked the document and said it wasn't him, he wasn't married. I'm not here to speak for it or against it. I'm just here to bring out the biblical application. He said, pastors say that wasn't him, he wasn't married at 16, so be it. Then, as far as I'm concerned, he was not married. But the other content creator from the black sector is still going on with it, saying that it's a lie, that he was married. So I don't know, friend, when we get these documents like that, when we see things like that, we got to start doing the math and poke holes in it, because the math just didn't add up. 16, he was 16 in 1986, so he was still in high school. So I know in our race, that's kind of young. We encourage our young men and women to do those things when they graduate. We want them to go to college, but certainly when they're in high school, the first thing we say, you're going to finish school first, right? You remember your mom and your dad saying that, or your grandparent? You need to finish school before you start thinking about them girls, before you start thinking about them boys, or before you start thinking about marriage. You need to go to high school. If we can get you through high school, that's good. It'd be good if you go to college, but we certainly want to get you through high school. So knowing our culture and our race, at 16 years old, he probably wasn't married. Let me know what you think. Again, thank you for listening this morning. In the meantime, in between time, be at peace and not in pieces. Till next time.